Woo, hey, Lori, what's happening?
Hey, Greg. Happy Thursday.
Team Wilpers, everybody, welcome to the recorded briefing that we normally do live, and we are on. We're trying to do our best job, and the tech sometimes gets us. I did an awesome video of my workout today, though, so I think I have one IT get plus a win, and then obviously this one's a fail. Riverside was just not working for me, so sometimes they do that. They change things. So I
You used
apologize.
up
We will
your
still.
only tech card today.
Fedor, our friend Fedor, even gave me kudos on before. He's like, "Well, your IT game is moving up." Well, it could only move up because it's really at the bottom.
Yeah.
Speaking of Fedor, congratulations on his 112-mile ride in the Lakes
Yes.
region in the UK, and some really super steep climbs. And he did a nice write up about that. And what a pleasure just to be on that journey. And that's kind of what we do it for, the performance, all the training that goes into his peak performance. So cool. Any other events? Did you do a race? I thought you did one too.
I
No, did you do
did, but I
something?
have a question. I have a question about Fedor first. How long has he been
Yes.
riding? He hasn't been riding very long, has he? This was a
Indoors,
big deal.
indoors several years. Yeah, but outdoor. No, he just got a bike, like
That's
like
awesome.
last year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I loved seeing his updates. That was amazing. And I
yeah.
encourage everybody to share their updates as well. Yeah, I have an update.
Tell us.
It was, well, I raced the Wild West gravel grinder, which was up near Lake Shasta, and it wasn't technically a race, but as soon as you pin a number on, it becomes a race. You get more than two people with numbers on, and it's a race. And typically for a race, I would do a little bit of a warm up and get the engine stoked and be ready to go from the start because gravel races go hard from the beginning. And I didn't. I just sat around and chatted with my girlfriends. And we line up, and it was actually pretty cool. Small event. The guy who runs it's total cowboy. He's all dressed in his cowboy garb, and there was a electric guitar played the national anthem, and it was just pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
Very cool.
very, very much farm country, ranch country. And so we get started, and in my typical fashion, I get myself right up front with the lead pack, and they go. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying. And I had a hydration pack on because it was a long race and it was going to be about 95 degrees. And I hadn't had my
Yikes.
hydration pack on all year. And I had loaned it to someone last year, and I thought, oh, I'm going to die. I can't breathe. Everything's too tight. And I back off a little bit. And then the next pack comes along and I sit on and I'm just trying to recover because I was like, I went way too hard in that first like 5 minutes. And right. But I did. And I was looking at my data afterwards. It was like, you actually, yes, you went hard, but you recovered immediately. So it was more of a kind of a mental panic, I think, which is interesting, right? It's not always our body that's having that response. Sometimes it's our brain. We think we're going too hard. So try not to psych yourself out. But it was awesome. It was about 35 miles uphill and then 35 miles downhill, most of it on dirt and ranch roads and private roads, and then the water crossings. So the downhill would have been awesome, but it was very technical. It was on what's called the Chisholm Trail, and it literally was a cow trail. And it went along a creek bed, but in places there wasn't a trail, so you were in the creek bed with your bike, different degrees
Love it.
of water. Yeah.
If it's
And
95 degrees, I bet that felt good, actually.
it did. And in the winter, I would have hated it. And it was interesting, though,
Yes.
because at this part of the state, near Mount Shasta, which is almost in Oregon, there was still snow on the peaks. And so one of the longer courses, they couldn't actually run the course because it was snowed. Yeah, but anyways, cattle guards, which are, these metal bars across the road or the trail to keep the cows from crossing. And I started feeling like my rear tire was bottoming out, and I run tubeless. And so I was like, okay, it can't be. And I hit the cattle guards a few times. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop. And it was the first time I had stopped. I was a few hours in at that point. And yep, I'm pretty soft. And luckily, tubeless won't let you flat. So you could ride it, but it's not ideal.
Yeah.
And I put a little CO2 in, just a quick top it off, and 20 minutes, same thing. Happened again. Fourth time I get off the bike, I'm like, okay, there is something wrong here. And it was actually a valve core, which I've never had
Ah,
happen before. So it wasn't a flat, it wasn't a puncture, and it wasn't the valve stem, it was the little core. And I don't carry one of those. And I have no idea why it was leaking or how, but I decided, okay, I'll throw a tube in. That's your
okay.
last resort when you run tubeless. I'm going to put
Yeah.
an inner tube in. And so I make quick time of it, and it doesn't hold air. And I think I haven't had to put a
No,
tube
Lori, you're
in
stressing me
about,
out.
I know, it's been a good 10 years since I've had to put a tube in a tubeless tire. And I think it's been sitting in a saddlebag so long it had a little puncture in it.
Of
So
course. Yes.
at that point, I've used up all my CO2. I have a little pump. I'm sitting by myself on the side of the road. Oh, and I was in the lead overall on my course for women at that point.
Oh
And
no.
I know. So finally, some guy comes along and gives me a tube, and I'm able to get going again. But I lost 58 minutes between the four stops, that last one, because I just waited and wait. I was like, okay, I'm kind of done.
Yeah, that's a long
Yeah,
time. That's talk about, yeah, I think you were writing about controllables and uncontrollables and
yeah. And
things
could
you
that have
can
been a
do and
controllable? I mean, there were two things there. I've never
maybe
had a valve core go, but
was
should
it
I have?
just loose? Could you tighten up
I
the valve core
Oh,
or
I tried. I took out
yeah,
my stem tool and tried tightening it. I tried tightening the nut. I did all those things.
I'm
So
sure. I'm
maybe
sure.
that was a
Right.
maintenance issue. I don't know. Maybe it was a fluke. Luckily, it wasn't
Uh,
an actual race. Could I
yeah.
have checked the tube that was in the saddlebag, or should I have assumed that after 10 years it probably wasn't any good? So,
They're probably good for
um,
10 years and a week, right? You had like
yeah.
next week you would have changed it, right?
Yeah. So, anyways, it was a great day. A very, very long drive, unfortunately, and a long drive back. But
Oh, that's hard. That's
yeah,
hard. That's mental toughness is getting through that and dealing with that. If
yeah,
it's a disappointment, then rebounding and getting back
yeah,
and looking ahead to the next one. So,
right.
tough, tough.
Well, the good news was my coach had me going out and doing a 5 hour ride the next day after a 5 hour race, and I felt great. So that was
Sweet.
good.
Yeah, you had
It was like,
58 minutes of
okay,
rest.
I know, got a lot of fitness here. So yeah, so things are
Uh,
looking good.
uh,
How about
well,
you?
I
What
think
did you do
every
this weekend?
last week, the weekend, I don't think I did too much of anything, but on Tuesday last week, I'm gearing up for. I have two big things coming up actually. So Brian Hammond is coming to ride with me on Saturday for my Get Out and Ride Day. So I think I mentioned last week I made this crazy route that goes to his house and then circles around. We have a 105, 106 mile route that he's coming to do. And I thought for sure once I sent it to him, he was going to be like, yeah, that's great, Greg. But what are we really going to do? But no, he said that looks good for me because he's
He's
getting
got
ready for
a big
Unbound.
race. Yeah.
Unbound is, I believe it's in July, right? June or July?
No,
It's
it's
June. It's
three
June. It's coming
weeks.
up.
It's June. It's
Oh
coming
yeah.
in a
So
couple weeks.
okay, so this works out for him. It is way overreaching for me, and but it'll be fun. I hope he decides to go slow. Otherwise, I'll have him carry all the food.
And is
So
this
I
on
have that to look.
dirt road
It is
combination?
about 70 or 80% dirt. Yeah, there's some trails, some like outright trails, and so I've been on most everything. I don't think he's been on most of it.
Yeah.
He lives about an hour, 45 minutes north of me. So um, yeah, I look forward to it. That'll be fun. That'll be fun.
He's
But
excited.
some other things. Yeah,
I talked to him
yeah.
about it this morning. So,
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think both of us are looking forward to it. That'll be cool. That'll be a nice Saturday getaway for the two of us. Get out and do it. And but a couple of other things coming up. Hincapie is coming up right around the corner, and Hincapie Lehigh Valley. We have a number of folks coming. Um, and the shakeout ride. I just wanted to talk about the shakeout ride to make sure because I know Ken Miller posted about it, and thank you for organizing from the Peloton Road Riders Club. 2:30 on the Friday beforehand, so Friday the 31st, and he posted the route, and I believe there's a parking lot right there to meet and start where you have a 25-mile route, but there's a couple of places where you can duck out early, so you don't have to do the whole thing. if you're hearing this and you're going to Lehigh Valley, please try to make it there to the shakeout ride on Friday at 2:30 p.m. That'll be awesome to meet as many people as can come. That'll be so much fun. And then
And a couple people have mentioned that they were nervous about doing the shakeout ride. They've never done anything like that before. And I would say I did the one in Greenville in October. A super cool group. They will be very supportive. You'll find you end up in smaller groups, so it's not going to be one big pack. And they regroup at all the intersections, so they'll make sure no one is left behind. You can ride at whatever pace you feel comfortable with. So I encourage you to come out and get to meet some other people and move your legs. Always important to move your legs the day before an event.
absolutely. Yes. Thank you for mentioning that. It was Linda. Linda Marie said she was a little skeptical, but Linda, I will be there. Bob Cucaro, I will be there. The three of us and anyone else who can make it. So post up if you're coming, and we'll kind of know who to look out for. And yeah, I can't wait. That's gonna be a lot of fun. And then a reminder that this week I've just been an informal get out and ride day this Saturday. So that's what I was talking about. And if you've heard me talking about it for months now, if you own a hybrid bike and you don't ride, get it out and go around the block. That's get out and ride day. If you normally ride outside, pick something, or hopefully you've done so already, pick a route that is challenging, doable, something that makes sense. If you're using it as a lead up to a Fondo in a couple weeks, it kind of fits in. Post some pictures, do a little write up, put it in the Facebook group, and share your experience. That's kind of what the whole thing is about. So looking forward to seeing how that goes. And then you wanted to remind everybody about the group rides, right? 6 a.m., 9 a.m.,
Yes.
12, 3.
Yes. And we had a couple of questions
ahead.
this morning. Folks said, are we starting the actual ride, Palomar 1, at the top of the hour? Yes. So if you want to warm up, and I encourage you to do that, do your warm up first. Christine has a warm up if you like that's specific to Palomar. You could do any other warm up or an easy class first and just get yourself ready to go, because we're going to use this as a benchmark, meaning this is a climb within the context of your day, and you want to have something that's comparable. So you want to be able to go hard as soon as you can. So yeah, I'll be on the last two rides since I'm West Coast, and I encourage you to RSVP on the Facebook event. Throw your leaderboard name down so we can follow you, and use the hashtag Team Wilpers Training, all one word, and we'll be able to filter the leaderboard down and find each other. So yeah.
Sweet.
That's about it.
Sweet. And if you're in the no class training plan, if you're doing the no class schedule, you can certainly jump in on those rides. You can do the structure that I wrote and treat that 30-minute tempo segment or interval as a hill climb. You can do that indoors. You can do it outdoors. You can do it on a real hill. You can do it on a segment that you can repeat. So really what we want you to do is go as far as you can, uphill preferably, and we're going to repeat it at the end. That's going to be our benchmark for this round, for this training block. So cool. What else is happening during this week? You want to run through your schedule, the Peloton classes for
Sure.
week 2?
Yeah. First of all, congratulations everybody who started week 1. It's been really interesting to see. Many of you are embracing the zone 2. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, nap time, but that's okay too. And one of the comments today was, it felt so different to finish a ride. And I use the term not feeling destroyed. But it is definitely a different sensation when you finish an easy endurance ride than even doing an endurance ride that's in zone 2 and 3. So we're burning fewer matches. The easier we go, the harder we can go on the quality workouts. And those start next week, as some of you have noticed today. So next week, we're going to start focusing on some VO2 max work. Monday, again, will be our rest day. So make sure you go in, check it off. We've had some questions about what is rest. And I would say gentle movement is okay on a rest day. Don't stack all of your heavy resistance training or your other cardiovascular training. Take rest. It's okay. You will benefit greatly from that as we do the harder rides. Tuesday, we're going to start with our first bit of intensity. We've got Dennis for 45 minutes, power zone ride. And then Wednesday, for those of you doing the 5 ride option, we've got Matt. Again, we're doing another Zone 2 ride, so you'll appreciate that after doing some Power Zone. Some of you will take that day off, and that's fine. Just click that box, even if you take the day off, and you've done your job for the day. Thursday, we're going to do 2 different rides, so make sure you see both of them. We're going to ride with Hannah. I really like Hannah, by the way. She's really good. Her form is good. Her cueing is good. I think she's a really good addition to the Power Zone team. So we're going to start with 30 minutes of Power Zone endurance, and then we're going to do a 15-minute Tabata ride. And I know. So, and I would encourage you to do it in that order. So do the endurance first to warm up, get ready to go, because Tabata is hard. But don't forget, Tabata is also mentally hard. You think, oh, I can't do it because the recovery is so short. You can do it. But I would do that Power Zone endurance ride first. So we'll have 2 rides on Thursday. Friday is off, so we're going to take a rest day. Saturday, we're going to start going long. So we've got a 75-minute Power Zone endurance ride with none other than Matt. Does anyone else teach 75-minute rides? I think only Matt. Yeah.
Good question.
And then
I don't know.
I know. So Sunday is another rest day for those of you doing the 3 ride option, for those of you doing 5. Or if you choose to do another ride, we're going to be with Sam. We've got a 45-minute Power Zone ride. So it'll be a nice full week. For the core rides, it's about 2.5 hours of riding. If you're doing 5 rides, we've got 415 for a TSS of 144, 244. And as I mentioned, just make sure you're checking the boxes off. We want to know that you're doing the rides. But that's about it.
That is awesome. That's so cool. Very cool. I think a lot of folks are looking forward to it, and I love that you're making them check the box for rest. That is such a different way of looking at it. You know, can I work out on my? Can I do this on my rest day? Can I do this on my rest day? No, check the box if you rested.
And I wrote a note in the
try-
training this week. I think it was this week that said, take your rest as hard as you take your training, right? So we want to make sure that we're taking that seriously.
Rest is part of training, isn't it? It is part of training.
It is.
Cool. Well, for my no class schedule, and this is week 2 of this taper down section. We're looking to peak out here on the week after this one, so it's coming up quickly. So you'll kind of notice a lower intensity here, and I do have a low tempo, so this is almost an endurance ride, but not quite. So I have you at 80% of FTP for 10 minutes twice on Tuesday. And then my normal 80-70s shouldn't be too challenging. You could do this.
Greg, are you screen sharing?
70%. Yes. Can you see it or no?
No. It's just, it says
No.
G and it's got a little speaker icon there. Just want to make sure you knew we couldn't see it.
Okay. Well, let me just talk through it then, because Riverside is not working well for me at all. All right, so cool. Anaerobic capacity. So today we had some pretty tough intervals, and then next Thursday I have 1-minute intervals, but just 4 of them, and then not the 30-second intervals. So I think that will be a step down, but still revving the engine. You know what I'm saying? So easier ride, but not quite, but still keeping the intensity. And then Saturday, I do have, if you're indoors, a hour and 15-minute tempo ride with that same 30-minute, 85%. You could even do that hill section. If you did it in week 1, you could do it again in week 2. Or if you're training specifically for the Fondo, a 35-mile ride for the Medio and a 60-mile ride if you're doing the longer event. And then and that being the event being the next week. So that would be your last set. That would be the Saturday before the event, before the week of the event. Does that make sense? And then Sunday is just an endurance ride. So I have it at an hour long, and just 75% straight across. So, and Training Peaks sharing was not working. So here we are back to normal. I want to hit on the TSS. Looks like it was for the week 259 if you do the workouts as structured. So that is down from 284 this week that we're in right now. And that's if you do all the workouts as structured. I know if you get outside and get a little volume in, it could be different, but it is a step down, keeping some of the intensity, if that makes sense. So you have that. And then speaking of taper, like I think a lot of other things come into a taper. It's not just working out less or less volume, keep the intensity. Man, I find a lot of other things going on. Like I washed my truck today. I've cleaned the garage. I need order. I need organization because I know what's going to help me feel good in a couple weeks. I need good food in the house. I can start planning my meals for the next week. So much of that stuff is going on. And I feel like it all kind of relates to your question today, or yesterday, which is perfect, of training versus performance. And you got some nice discussions. Yeah. Anything stick out to you in that?
Definitely.
In that from those posts?
Well, there was the one really, 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 really long one that Jeff posted that I said should be a t-shirt. But no, I think everybody had some different ideas. When I think of, well, specifically, let's talk about a hill climb for a moment. So what is the difference between training and performance? In training, I don't care what my result is, for one thing. I mean, I do, but I don't. But I may do things in my training that aren't exactly what I would do in a performance. And I think that is, so for example, a race or going out and doing an actual hill climb. And I think that's an important concept too, right? Training is leading up to this event for me. They can be all part of the same cycle, but I may do some types of classes. Like we're working on VO2 max. Well, what does that have to do with climbing? Why aren't we just climbing and climbing and climbing? But I have to raise that ceiling in order to bring everything up. So we're going to work on VO2 max a little bit. That's going to improve your fitness overall. It's going to improve your climbing. I'm trying to think of some of the, I didn't know you were going to ask that question. I'm over in the chat chatting with people. So the other one that was good, which led us to another question, which was controllables versus uncontrollables.
Malisha.
And I thought that was awesome as well. And so for my performance, I want to make sure that all of my controllables are taken care of. And that's what I used to teach my racers, right? What can I control? My nutrition, my relaxation, my recovery, my kit. I would always clean my bike the night before a race because it was part of my ritual. And rituals set us up mentally for what we're going to do. Those are all super important. I can't control the weather. I can't control my competitors. I can't control, what else can't I control? I don't know. But yeah, so what do you think? What are your thoughts on this, Greg?
Oh, I got into it. I think when we first got on, I told you I was almost late because I was getting into this topic. And here I'm gonna put on my philosophy hat. Look, I have a different hat just for this answer. This is so fun because this is all part of training, by the way. Training versus performance. First of all, I have a story. What I first thought of is as a competitive diver in high school and college, but I remember a coach in high school telling me before a meet that I was really nervous about, it's just a show.
Yeah.
That changed my whole outlook. Like, okay, I've done all the training, but now I'm scared to death to go and compete against somebody else who I know is probably better than me, but you know what? That doesn't matter. I still got to go do my best because it's a show, not because I'm going to be compared to somebody else. And there's a whole different way of looking at it. So May Sakharov, thank you. Yes. Shout out. She said, it's just your performance is a show. And so she set me up nicely. Then I got into it. All right. Training performance. I think that cycling specific anyway, I think training is the umbrella. And you pull a lot of tools under it in order to go from performance to performance and try and seek better and better performances or a peak performance from time to time. So let's go through the journey a little bit. You start cycling and you do a few workouts and you'll see better and better performances. So you're now training and you see better and better performances. And a workout is a performance. An event is a performance. A performance could be whatever you want. It's cleaning your bike. You are performing. You're on show because you want to be proud of how you appear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then let's see. You continue on your journey, and you to keep on experiencing better and better performances, you have to train smarter or more. You have to learn what works best and what works most efficient. Maybe you find a training plan, power meter, analytics, seeking better performances all along. And those performances could be an FTP test, it could be your sprint, it could be your group ride performance. It's all about how you feel you are doing. So you decide the measure, I think, of your performance. So soon you have to bring in other things, though, right? Your performances aren't increasing anymore, and you have to bring in diet, and you have to bring in sleep training, and you have to bring in mental training, and that's all part of training. Yes. So you might not feel like it's a performance, but all of that goes under the training umbrella, I feel. Learn what helps you feel confident. We talked about a clean bike. I cleaned my truck. I cleaned out my garage. I got Brian coming over. He doesn't care, but I want to feel good on Saturday morning when I present my environment to my friend who I'm going to go riding with. It's not a competition, but I still want to feel good about it, right? So I think moving on, well, here, you might find a coach, you might find a community, you might talk about things in discussions, and all that is training. Yes, all of that is involved in training, you're thinking about it, trying to get better and better performances. So as you do more events, you're attempting to, in events, you're trying to have a peak performance like the Fondo coming up for a lot of us, or another event later on in the year. You learn what works and what doesn't. And I think reflecting on what works and what doesn't is part of training also. Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned the clean bike. I actually wrote that down here in my notes, and I remember
clean bike, clean kit, matching socks, all the things.
Yeah. Look at our sheet. I think I wrote that, didn't I? I think I wrote that. I used to clean my car every morning before Sunday morning before mountain bike races. Took my car to the car wash. I wanted to show up with a clean car, bike, kit, haircut if I needed it. You want to look good because that helps with the confidence. I know it's silly. It gets a little crazy if you let it.
A phrase a friend of mine used with me a long time ago in a slightly different context, and she had said, "Fake it till you make it." And I think that often.
Yes.
Or I'll say, if you can't be fast, you can be flash, meaning I can look the part.
Yes.
And I think that's really important. You wouldn't go to a job as an executive and wear holy jeans. Well, maybe if you're at Apple, you would, but holy jeans and a dirty t-shirt and whatever. We need to really set ourselves up for success. And part of that is looking the part, I think, as well. And I think the other piece that's so important is each one of these failures that we see, or these attempts, they're not failures, they're learning opportunities. So when I don't succeed, I learn. And I think that's super important. We had a rider who struggled with Bob Cuccaro struggled with some GI distress after his ride this past weekend. And it's like, okay, what did I learn from that? What could I have eaten differently? Or could I have timed the nutrition differently? Or did I start too hard and so it caused my belly to be upset? All of those are opportunities for us just to learn. And in training, we're going to be able
Not the shout out Bob was looking for, I don't think.
I know.
Bob. Oh, no. Sorry, buddy.
No, but it was a good learning opportunity.
It's right? Absolutely a learning experience.
Working on his nutrition and a lot of you have.
Totally.
It's like, okay, how do I know that I like this gel? Or how do I know that I really only want to eat boiled potatoes when I ride a bike, or whatever it is? I know because I've tried. And if you never tried these things, the other thing I think that's really important is we always say, don't do anything on race day that you haven't done in training. You don't wear the new shoes or change your bike fit the night before, or try a new chamois. Oh, I'm going to save the chamois for the Grand Fondo. No, you need to ride in that thing and make sure it works for your body.
You need to try it. New tires, new chain, new bike.
Sunscreen,
oh my gosh.
Chamois cream, all these
anything.
Things.
None of that needs to be tried and tested. Yes.
So training is trying and testing as well.
All of that goes under the training umbrella, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
training is all we do, seeking potential peak performances was my sum up sentence. And it's potential peak performances because there are still uncontrollables and you might not get your peak performance.
Yeah.
So all you can do. Yeah. I mean, I used to stand, if I was standing in a group of people, move 3 inches. So I was in the shade a day
Yeah.
before a race rather than standing in the sun. Just little tiny things, less coffee the week before. All of that is from
What?
learning week to week. Less coffee the week before so that the coffee the morning of the race works better. That was my mental
As
thought.
a to make you poo or to make you faster?
No,
Well,
just as a
both, right?
stimulant. I needed less of it to have the effect. No, not to make me poo. I had no problem with that.
Oh, see, that's what leaving enough time at the event to use the porta potty because everyone else is going to be using the porta potty in the slow way too in the morning.
All
So,
part of training.
yeah,
Yes, that is maybe not the
yeah,
performance. That's the training. So very good topic. Very good
yeah,
topic and fun to get into. So if y'all out there have more to contribute, put down your thoughts. Thank you,
yeah.
Jeff Heim. I know everybody put some thought into their answers, and I think it's a good one. So well done. Anything else you want
Yeah.
to shout out before we say goodnight?
I'm excited. I as everyone knows, I've been very excited about this challenge and doing things a little differently. And so far, the response seems to have been really good. And thank you to everyone who has embraced days off and embraced zone 2. And those of you who are like, hey, there's no burn in Bloom and Burn, wait till Tuesday. You'll get your burn. Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday are going to be pretty spicy. And I'm super excited to see how this goes and to see all the
Yeah,
improvement.
sweet.
So, yeah.
Yeah, sweet. Hill climb, get out and ride, and yeah, let's do it. Stay in touch on the Facebook group. Be good to each other. And Lori, I'll see you soon. And everyone else, we'll see
Yeah.
you next week.
Have fun riding with Brian.
I will do it.
Okay.